Hey guys, this is MasquedBlonde, and today I thought I would talk about a favorite terrible movie of mine, and that is Showgirls. Now, if you don't know what Showgirls is, it's basically Flashdance, except there's no chemistry between any of the characters or any of the romantic leads. In fact, there isn't any romantic leads in this. It takes place in Vegas. It has terrible writing, dialogue, acting, dancing, horrible scores. Yeah, basically it's everything that Flashdance wasn't. But there's some similarities on the surface. It's actually, from what I've read, meant to be a sort of All About Eve remake. This is going to contain spoilers, so if you want to see this, you need to cut off the video now. But yeah, basically, so Nomi, the protagonist of the story, hitchhikes across the states to Vegas so she can become a topless dancer. Yeah, so she basically works as a stripper until she can sleep her way into an audition, and then she sleeps her way into being an understudy. And yeah, it's a lot of that sort of stuff going on. There's tons of graphic nudity, just all around sleaze. There's a graphic rape scene in her, gang rape, not of the protagonist, of another character. The only likable character in the whole film is viciously gang raped. I don't know. This is, having read up on it, I mean, honestly, okay, so let me just get into why this film was made. Okay, so this film was made because it had the same writer and it had the same director that did Basic Instinct. And for some reason, I mean, Basic Instinct made like a whole ton of money. I think it made like 7 times its original budget, according to IMDb. But yeah, it's really not much better in my opinion. I mean, you can tell it's the same writer and director. I'm just going to be blunt. I thought Basic Instinct was crap. It's absolute garbage. There's so many plot holes. The only thing that I found redeemable about Basic Instinct was Sharon Stone is amazing in it. I would actually recommend watching Basic Instinct, even though I think it's a terrible film, just because Sharon Stone is such... She's so... It's like hard to describe her. She's definitely sexy in it, but there's just... Like, she's got the whole femme fatale thing down pat. I mean, she is good in this film. She makes... I mean, every time she's on screen, it's enjoyable. Everything else about it is terrible. I mean, it's got really great actors in this. Or in Basic Instinct, it's got really great actors, but the script is garbage. It's so terrible. I can't even... Like, I have a hard time sitting through it. But she's good to watch for. So I mean, this Basic Instinct made her an A-lister. She had been, I think the big film she had done before it was Total Recall. And you know, she's always played like these sexy women because, well, I mean, look at her. She's very attractive. This film, she was really able to expand on that and use it as a tool for her character to manipulate and scheme, and she's really good at it. She really shows her acting range in in Basic Instinct. And I think that's the only reason that film did so well, because it's, in terms of writing and directing and plot, it's awful. I mean, the bare basics of the plot, like a murder is committed, and you find out that a novelist had written a story about a guy who was killed the exact same way, is an interesting premise for a story, but it's not written well here in that particular story. But now, in terms of Showgirl, I mean, you got the same type of cheeseball writing. You've got, it's just awful. It's people not acting like human beings would act. There's nothing really. I mean, I don't know. And I honestly don't know why I enjoy watching it. It's just usually when it comes on, I have to watch. I guess it's like a train wreck. It's just, you know, I have to sit and watch it. And I gotta watch the whole thing. I mean, I skipped through the gangbang, because I'm not gonna watch that. Sorry. But it's just so terrible. It's so terrible. And yeah, so basically the director, he wanted to, you know, do his All About Eve remake. He wanted to show, like, I don't know, it was confusing. Like, he was, apparently from what I've read, he wanted to show that underneath the glitter and glamour of Vegas, there's a seedy side. But that doesn't make any sense to me, because Vegas's reputation, particularly in the 90s, was as an adult entertainment city. I mean, it's anything that you can legally or illegally do, you can find it at Vegas. So, I mean, you know, it's even got that tagline, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's meant to be sleazy. It's meant to be a little bit seedy. I mean, and not everything about Vegas is. I mean, they do have, like, some nice restaurants, and lately they've had really big names like Celine Dion and Britney Spears perform on stages. And I mean, they've classed up the image a bit, but back in the 90s, it was still like people go there to gamble and, you know, get a private escort or prostitute or see a strip show. I mean, there's so many strip clubs in Vegas. It's, yeah, there's nothing, like, when you think glamour, you don't think Vegas. Like, nobody has any illusions of Vegas. Like, nobody. Like for example, with Hollywood, like, adults know that Hollywood is a seedy place. People get taken advantage of in horrific ways. You know, there's been a lot of murders and rapes from where people have taken advantage of aspiring actors and actresses. It's just, I mean, and there's even, like, you know, you'll have like big name actors that will come out and say, hey, you know, I won't name names, but this director or this producer or this agent took advantage of me and did this to me, or I knew that they were doing this to kids and stuff like that. But the overall, the overall image of Hollywood is still one that's very glamorous, very, this is where dreams come true. This is where, you know, anyone, no matter what your background, no matter where you come from, no matter how much talent you have or don't have, can become famous and can become a superstar. You just gotta, you know the right people and sleep with the right people and all this stuff, right? Of course, a lot of people don't know that. They go in wanting to be an actor, an actress, and don't realize that there's this dark underbelly to it, and get abused and used. Nobody goes to Vegas with any such delusions, except for apparently Nomi, who should know better. So yeah, I'm terribly confused why she would want to aspire to be a topless dancer. She's a stripper. She strips. It's really not. I mean, I'm not shaming people that do either. But the only difference between, like, say, here's the difference. Okay, so strippers get paid a lot of money, and your venue can vary depending on where you are. If you're in some rural backwoods, you're probably in a really dirty, rusty, seedy joint that you're working in. Your clientele is probably like really low end, and you're not making like a whole bunch of money. But if you're, I don't know, in LA and you're extremely attractive, I mean, you've got all the curves, and you're the right age, and you can, you know, work a pole like nobody's business. You can work at one of the high-end places, and your clientele has more money. But essentially, you're doing the same thing. I mean, you're getting naked, fully naked. Everybody's seeing everything. You're grinding on people. People are putting money in your, you know, if you're wearing underwear. So, I mean, that's the job. That's what the job is. A topless dancer, at least according to this movie, you're on stage with no top, and you're wiggling your junk for everyone to see, and wearing tight, tiny clothes. And, I mean, that's it. You're not even dancing. You're just doing, I don't know. There's no dancing in this film. Like, they keep talking about Naomi being a dancer, and they keep talking about how great she moves on stage, but all the dancing that I see on this, including on stage at the casino, at the topless venue, is awful. It's so terrible. It's so horrendous. I give Elizabeth Berkley all the credit in the world for spending like 16 hours a day learning these awful routines in those high heels. She was a trooper. I feel so bad that she's been used as the scapegoat for this film. I mean, don't get me wrong, her performance was terrible, and we're going to go on to that in a second, but the dancing is horrific. I can't believe they hired a choreographer to direct this crap. I can't dance worth anything. I could direct something like this. It's so bad. There is no good dancing in this. It's all just a bunch of flailing and spastic movements, like somebody's having a seizure on stage. It's just terrible. There's nothing like you're sitting here thinking, oh, it's about strippers. And I've seen like music videos and stuff that have shown like actual strippers at actual clubs, you know, and they're being all acrobatic and everything. And like that, what they do is erotic. There is no eroticism in this. It's like, I don't know. There's nothing sexy about it. So if you're a guy and you're wanting to watch this so you can get turned on, you are going to be, I mean, you might go gay, honestly, because it's so bad. But, yeah, it's terrible. The music is, like, except for, okay, so, like, in the strip club, they'll play, like, actual music. Like, they'll play, like, Prince and 9 Inch Nails, and these are great songs by great bands. You can barely hear them, but it's there. But the actual score to this, like the stuff you hear during the stage show, the topless performance, is just awful. It's just terrible. And the sets look so cheap and cheesy and just awful. And like, not just on stage, like everywhere. Like, everything looks cheap and cheesy and awful. Like, except for the actual parts that they show that are actually Vegas. I mean, it looks like Vegas in the 90s, which wasn't that great. But I don't know. I just personally just think the whole movie, like, I cannot believe it was made. Let me look and see what the budget was for this, because it was horrendous. I don't even know what the budget was for this. I think it was something like 34 million. No, 45 million, I think, was the budget. It made like 30 million. It was a flop. It was a flop. And if you've ever seen it, you'll know why it's a flop. But, I mean, honestly, like, there's just so many ways that this could have worked. whatever he was going for, but he just like, there was just no, like, I think they wrote the script in 13 days. They really needed to spend more time on that because it shows. Like, Basic Instinct, I think, was written in 10 days, and I think Basic Instinct was awful. So they actually spent more time on this script, and it's horrendous. But yeah, so like, if they had, okay, so if they had gone, like, say, the Black Swan route, okay, now Black Swan's actually, like, in terms of All About Eve, trying to, I mean, it's, Black Swan's more than that, really. Actually, Neon Demon is more like All About Eve. But Black Swan does have some of that, some of that, shows some of that pressure and trying to make it, some of the seediness behind the scenes and stuff like that. Like some of the stuff that goes on in a dancer's life that you might not think about. Those two films are far better than this. Like, Neon Demon shows a model trying to get her way to the top of the modeling profession. She comes from nowhere. She doesn't have a resume. She gets discovered. I don't know why I did quotations. She actually does get discovered. And it changes her. And you see, like, this dark, seedy side of the fashion industry, or actually the entertainment industry. And it's like this, if they took Nomi, let's say, because, like, Nomi does not act like a person. She does not act like an actual, like, I thought maybe at first, that when I first saw it, that maybe she had some sort of illness, like a mental illness or something, because the way she acts is so odd. Like, I don't know, like, it, like, if like, she had a bad childhood, apparently. She used to be a prostitute. So, and she was a prostitute, she did cocaine, so why does she act so naive throughout this whole thing? I don't really get it. Like, she just, I don't know. Like, if they took this film, okay, so, like, here's how you make it better. Okay, first off, Paul Verhoeven should not be anywhere near it. Everything I've seen from him, like Starship Troopers and Total Recall, like, and I love Total Recall, and I liked Starship Troopers, but there is an element of cheese in everything he touches. So he doesn't need to be near it. If he wanted a serious look on the shady side of the entertainment industry, he doesn't need to be near it. He cannot, like, I don't think he does satire well. I know people have later said that this is great satire. I know Quentin Tarantino loves this film. And it is exploitation. He's correct. It is. I just would not, I wouldn't have him touch it. Certainly Joe Esterhaus, I don't know how you say his name. Hey, no, I don't want him anywhere near the script. Somebody else needs to write it. Basically, have Naomi go to New York. Either she goes to New York and tries to be a dancer on Broadway, which I think would be really interesting. Like, you're basically taking what was going on with Flashdance and you're updating it. And you're going to be, because Flashdance, like, they really toned, it was like Pretty Woman, like, they toned down what it meant to be a stripper. Like, the protagonist in Flashdance was a stripper, except she never stripped. She did sexy dances in sexy little costumes that were actually pretty tame. And for some reason, men paid money for this. It would have made more sense if she was like a burlesque dancer or whatever. But anyway, but and like Pretty Woman, she was a prostitute. There's nothing. That was Hollywood's version of what a prostitute is. It's not real life. But if you're going to take a script that's willing to go there and show you the real dirty, sleazy side of something and make it to where it impacts the audience, then have Naomi be a stripper with a former drug problem. And maybe, you know, she's lost her family a long time ago. Maybe she was sexually abused when she was younger, whatever. You give her those real world problems that a great many strippers do have. I'm not trying to stereotype strippers, but you do find that many have come from bad backgrounds. Again, not all of them have. I'm not judging a stripper for what they do. But so if she was to go to, like, let's say she always wanted to be, like, let's say she was genuinely skilled at dancing, not that flopping on stage that she's doing in this awful movie, but an actual dancer, and she has the skill and she has this talent, but she can't ever use it on stage. So she decides she's going to take a chance before she gets too old and go to New York and try to make it on Broadway. And she has this picture in her head that things will be different in New York. And she finds out that it's exactly the same. And because she has, no credentials, she doesn't have much of she doesn't have a dance resume. She doesn't have any experience on stage. She doesn't know the right people. People try to take advantage of her and try to get her to sleep with them, to give her roles and stuff like that. Like, that stuff can work on Broadway, because Broadway is actually thought of as a cultured venue. Like, it's art, and people see it as art, and it's got a very classy, it has a very classy persona. That would be more powerful. Or have her go to LA and try to make it as an actress. I don't think that would be as powerful. But I mean, if you're going to do this, and supposedly what happened is that I think it was the director that said that a lot of what you see in Showgirls are based off actual stories he heard about from strippers and people he knew in the entertainment industry, like people being actually gang raped by a celebrity, and then nobody's wanting to prosecute that person and they pay her off, or women being coerced into sexual favors to keep a job, stuff like that. Like that's stuff that we know does happen behind the scenes. So I mean, that would work. But Vegas, this script, no, it's terrible. It's garbage. And I can't blame Elizabeth Berkley for this. I know everyone wants to blame Elizabeth Berkley. Her performance was horrendous. But the girl tried. I feel like she gave the performance that she was told to give. This girl should never have been cast. And let me tell you why. She came from a preteen, cheesy as crap kids show where she played a goody two shoes, the exact opposite of what Naomi was. And I don't think she had a whole lot of credits before that, so she didn't really if you've seen that show, there really wasn't a whole lot of room for these people to grow. You know what I mean? So to come straight off from that to this type of role, like maybe a Sharon Stone could have pulled this off. Like, we saw Sharon Stone, like the difference between her and Sharon Stone was Sharon Stone actually had some respectable credits to her name. She had already sort of played this sexy character before. She just had to give them more depth. And she was able to pull off. She has a lot of talent. She was able to pull it off. I also think she was in her mid-30s. I don't know how old Elizabeth Berkley was when she did this role. I think she was in her early 20s. She didn't have the experience to even try to turn something this horrendous into a real character. And unfortunately, this is the result. And I don't think it's fair to blame her, because that's denying all the other crap that was here. I mean, you had Kyle MacLachlan, hope I'm not mispronouncing it, his name, who was great in Twin Peaks, which if you've not seen the original Twin Peaks, you need to watch it. I think he was also in Blue Velvet, David Lynch's movie. I'm not sure. I might be confusing it with something else. He's a good actor. He's a good actor. And he couldn't do anything with his role. And Gina Gershon. You need Gina Gershon in an erotic, sexy thriller. Bound. Bound is what you need to watch. Her and Jennifer Tilly. Great movie. It's actually got a really good plot. It's got good acting. It's got, it's made on a really low budget. So much better than this. Like, that's what you need to, she took stuff like that and she made it her own, and she played a character that you don't normally see her in. And again, like I said, Bound is not a bad movie. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. I like watching it. But she plays like a, masculine lesbian. And, before she'd always play these really feminine, sexy women. But she played, a masculine lesbian. And she was great in it. She was great. I totally bought the chemistry between her and Jennifer Tilly. It worked. And there's some sort of weird chemistry going on between her and Nomi. And I don't know if the director was trying to play that up or what. But it seemed like she hated her, but wanted to like hate sex with her or something. Like that's what her goal was. I don't know. I don't get it. There are times where it seems like they were really into each other, And then there are times where it seems like they were at each other's throats. And the fact that they were the only ones that had any chemistry, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's bizarre. Maybe with good writing, it could have actually been intriguing, but it didn't really go anywhere, and you didn't really understand it. But I don't know. Like this film, like I still try to figure out why it is I like it. I mean, everything is so, and I think maybe that's what it is. Everything is so over the top. Everything is everything is flamboyant and in your face. There's no subtlety. There's no, honestly, I don't. If you like bad films, this is something you need to check out. If you don't mind sitting through a gangbang and a whole bunch of nudity. Like, I felt like I was a gynecologist, except I wasn't getting paid like one. For like 2 hours. Just vagina. Just in my face, vaginas. It's just after a while, like I don't get, like, I know guys like watch the show and they actually get bored. I've actually had guys say that they get bored watching this. I don't know how. I know a lot of straight men, or I think men in particular, tend to be more like visually, a lot more visual creatures, which is fine. I mean, that's just how the biology works. If I'm correct, it's what I've heard. I don't have a medical background. I don't know, but it seems to be the case. Most guys I know are visually stimulated. They were bored. They were so bored. It's just like I don't know. Like, it's just maybe I don't think the director is smart enough to be doing this on purpose, but sometimes you kind of have to wonder. Like, if this was meant to be satire, which he claims later it was, or so I've heard, it would almost work, except it's just hard. It doesn't feel like it's competent enough to be satire. It just doesn't feel like it's, again, if you want a good version of this, Neon Demon is a good version of this. Flashdance is the more traditional Hollywood version of this, like without so much manipulation. There's not nowhere near as much manipulation in that. It's basically more like if you've never seen Flashdance, the stripper also works at night as a welder, and she winds up dating her boss. And I mean, she doesn't sleep her way to the top. I mean, she's trying to get into a ballet school. She doesn't do anything to get into the ballet school except audition. I mean, she's a pretty likable character. I mean, she has a lot of heart. She's a nice person, even though she's like nobody's gonna say she's trashy. She's a likable person. Neon Demons is much more like a young girl. You know, I think there's been a couple of times the character, like I only saw it once, but I think she threw her would-be boyfriend under the bus and saw a rape and didn't say anything. Like, I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched it, but it's good. It's really good, and it's similar to this. Black Swan is got similar themes, although it's much more about what the pressure can do to a person, trying to make it in a really tough industry. I don't know, like, if you were to just watch the original All About Eve, a million times better than this. And if you want something erotic and sexy, Body Heat is like, what he's going through in this, I think was successful with Body Heat. In terms of actually Body Heat is more like a competent version of Basic Instinct, actually, because you have the femme fatale played by Kathleen Turner, who is amazing. And again, Sharon Stone, great in Basic Instinct. She had to have been channeling Kathleen Turner, and Kathleen Turner was incredible in Body Heat. And I think that level of erotic, sexual, presence on screen that he was going for succeeded with Body Heat, but not here. There's nothing sexy about this movie. There's nothing, and again, I don't blame Elizabeth Berkley for that. She's attractive. She's inexperienced. You know, there was like, I think 13 other people. She was at the bottom of the list. There was like, I think 13 other people that auditioned for this role, or maybe it was Basic Instinct that there was, no, it was Basic Instinct that there was 13 actresses. But, you know, I mean, keep in mind, the director chose Elizabeth Berkley over Angelina Jolie and Charlize Theron, which means he had to elect her audition. There is no way that this girl did not audition for this role. This is a guy who has a bunch of successful movies. He's one of the top directors in Hollywood. This is a film that all the top actresses have auditioned for. She's on this little crappy Saturday morning show. She auditioned for this role. And he picked her. Okay. He said no to Jenny McCarthy because Jenny McCarthy couldn't dance. Jenny McCarthy was much more of a sex symbol than Elizabeth Berkley at the time. They're both incredibly attractive blondes, but that's just how it was. And it's like, this Elizabeth Berkley auditioned and she got the role. So he must have really liked her performance, and he continued to like it enough to keep her as the actress. So I mean, apparently he was really happy with the film up till the critics started reviewing it, and it tanked at the box office. So I'm not going to blame Elizabeth Berkley for that. Yeah, she's part of the problem, but she never should have been cast to begin with. But watching her performance, again, it's like The Room. It's so horrific. This character you're supposed to like, you're supposed to connect with, is so awful. It's hard to do that. So I don't hate her for that. Yeah, so anyway, would I recommend this film? I would recommend it, again, if you like bad movies. I will probably watch this again. I've trashed it. I don't think it's a good movie. It's a terrible movie. It's garbage. But I don't know. I enjoy watching it. I like to punish myself. I can watch The Room over and over and over again, and I laugh all through it. I watch Showgirls. I laugh through most of it. It's just, I can't, it just shocks me because, like, whereas The Room was an independent film with, like, limited budget, so it's like you can make fun of Johnny Wiseau all you want. He's the guy who starred and directed and produced The Room. The guy had a vision. The guy raised the money for it. We don't know how, but he raised the money for it. He promoted it. He put in all this work and effort into it. So I do give him credit for that, because, you know, there's a lot of independent filmmakers out there that they struggle to get a film made. And a lot of them try to finance it on their own, and it's hard to do. So, I mean, as terrible as that film was, hey, you know what? He did it. I'll give him respect for that. Verhoeven is a Hollywood director who should at least be able to make... He made Total Recall. Like, he directed Total Recall. And it worked with Starship Troopers. It's like he took himself, like, too seriously. Like, maybe if he went full satire. Like, I always feel like Starship Troopers is satire. It feels like a satire film. It feels like a playing a joke or parodying a film that was made, like those 40s propaganda, like wartime propaganda films. Like, it kind of feels like that in spirit. Obviously, in aesthetics, it's not. But it's like you combine those propaganda films that Hollywood was shoving out, and then taking the cheesiness from the 80s, from all those Arnold and Sylvester Stallone flicks, and just mashing them into one mold, and that feels like Starship Troopers, and it works. I enjoy Starship Troopers. I think it doesn't take itself seriously at any point. It's just full on. You just sit back, enjoy. This film took itself seriously. This film tried so hard to make a commentary. It just didn't. And it's like, and you can, and it's the same thing with Basic Instinct. But Basic Instinct, at least the critics loved it. You know, after it made money, it didn't seem like they liked it too much when it first came out. But now everyone's like, oh, it's like film noir. It's like, no, it's not. It's terrible. It's awful. It's garbage. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I thought I would discuss it, and wow, I've talked about this for 40 minutes. And if you have sat through my rambling for 40 minutes and you liked this, please let me know. Again, I have ADHD, so I kind of like jump back and forth. Yeah. So, sometimes I just like to drone on about things. But yeah, let me know if you liked Showgirls? Oh, here's another question I want to ask. Is Showgirls feminist? Because I have heard people say that Showgirls is a feminist film, but it doesn't, there's nothing about it that appears, like, none of the women own their sexuality. They all seem to be, being manipulative, and there's only one female character that's supportive, and all the others are constantly using each other and just like that. So but I keep hearing that it's supposed to be a feminist film. I don't see that anywhere. If you are a feminist and you think this is a feminist film, please let me know, and please explain why. Because it's a question I have. I don't really get why that's so. If you love this movie, tell me why you love this movie. I kind of love it too, but I don't know why, because it's awful. And the more I think about it, I actually get kind of angry because it's so bad. And if you're an aspiring filmmaker, can you like tell me what you think of it? Like I'm always interested to hear what some up-and-comer thinks of films that are notoriously bad. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I won't be doing a whole lot of these movie reviews. Well, not really movie reviews, it's just a discussion, just because I'm not a critic. I don't want to be a critic. I just like to talk about films, and I don't particularly want to analyze them. I just want to talk about them. So, yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!